It started with a phone call I almost ignored. My mother's voice was unusually cheerful, layered with that brittle tone she used when she wanted something. "We're all meeting at the West Bridge Country Club this Saturday," she said. "Family dinner. Everyone will be there." Everyone, meaning my parents, my sister Caroline, her husband, and half the people who once made me feel like a stranger in my own bloodline. I hadn't set foot in that place since I was 21, the night my father told me I'd never fit in with their kind. Still, something in me wanted to see if anything had changed. The day of the dinner, I stood in front of my mirror and laughed softly. My reflection stared back. Jeans, a navy blazer, nothing fancy, comfortable, real. I knew exactly how they'd react, but for once I didn't care. The sun was dipping low when I arrived. The valet boy looked nervous as I handed over my keys, his eyes darting toward the line of luxury cars gleaming in perfect order. Inside, the air smelled of old money, polished oak, expensive perfume, and judgment. When I walked in, the conversation at the family's table paused. My father's glass hovered midair. My mother's smile faltered. "You wore jeans?" Caroline whispered, her eyes scanning me like a stain that wouldn't come out. "This isn't some roadside cafe." I wanted to laugh, but my throat tightened. My father cleared his throat. "Go back to your car and wait, Lila. We'll order something for you to take home. You're not properly dressed for members' dining." I felt every word like a slap. Members. I almost wanted to tell them right then, but instead, I looked at the linen tablecloth, the flickering candlelight, and said quietly, "So that's what I am now. An embarrassment?" My mother's voice was sharp as glass. "You know the rules here, darling. We're already being watched." Maybe that was the moment I realized it was never about rules. It was about appearances, about keeping me small enough to fit into their version of perfection. I stood there, every eye in that room pretending not to look, and thought, maybe it was time they finally saw who I'd become, because what I was about to tell them would change everything. My father's jaw tightened as I didn't move. He set his glass down with a dull click, the kind that told everyone nearby something unpleasant was about to happen. "Lila," he said, his tone calm but laced with warning. "This is not the place for one of your statements." My sister crossed her arms. "You always have to make it about you, don't you? You could have at least worn a dress." Her husband gave a soft chuckle, like he'd been waiting for the show to start. I wanted to disappear, but I'd spent too many years doing exactly that, apologizing for existing, for being different, for not fitting the mold they'd carved for me. So I took a slow breath and let the silence settle like dust before speaking. "I'm not here to make a statement. I'm here because I was invited." Caroline smirked. "Invited? By who?" Dad said. "By the owner," I said quietly. Her smile froze. My father frowned. "The owner?" He let out a sharp laugh. "You mean Mr. Callahan? You don't even know him." I could feel every pair of eyes at nearby tables turn toward us. The air was thick, too thick to breathe. My mother leaned closer, voice low but venomous. "You're embarrassing us, Lila. Sit down or leave before you cause a scene." Something inside me, something small and tired, finally broke. I straightened, meeting her eyes. "I can't leave, not without welcoming my guests." For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then a man in a black suit approached. The club manager. "Miss Hale," he said with a polite bow of the head. "Everything is ready for your inspection whenever you'd like." My father turned to him, confusion clouding his face. "Excuse me? Did you just say?" "Yes, sir," the manager said, glancing at me with quiet respect. "Miss Hale is the current owner of West Bridge Country Club." The color drained from my mother's face. Caroline's mouth fell open, words dying before they could form. And in that sudden, perfect silence, I realized something. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. But what came next? That was the part I hadn't planned for. My father's chair scraped loudly against the marble floor as he stood, his voice sharp enough to cut through the entire dining hall. "You will not talk to me like that, Layla. Owner or not. You owe your family respect." Respect. That word. The same one they'd used every time I'd dared to think for myself. Every time I'd wanted a life that didn't fit their picture-perfect mold. I looked up at him, calm but steady, Respect is earned, Dad, not demanded. His jaw flexed. My mother tried to smooth it over with her usual soft diplomacy. Layla, darling, let's not make a scene. We're just surprised. You have to understand. This is quite a shock. A shock. That's what I'd always been to them. The daughter who didn't marry rich. The sister who chose work over weddings. The one who didn't wear pearls or play polite. The manager cleared his throat discreetly. Miss Hale, the boardroom is prepared for your review when you're ready. I nodded. Thank you, Richard. I'll be there shortly. Caroline suddenly leaned forward, her voice laced with bitterness. So what now, Lila? You're going to flaunt this in our faces? Kick us out to make yourself feel powerful? I met her gaze, and for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch. No, I'm going to enforce the same rules you wanted me thrown out for. You know, the ones about proper decorum and respect for club policy. Her smirk faded. My father's brows knit. What do you mean? I said slowly, since members are required to treat all guests with respect, including staff and owners, I'm suspending your family's membership until further notice, effective immediately. My mother gasped. You wouldn't dare. I turned slightly toward the manager. Richard, please have their membership files flagged for review by the compliance board. He gave a respectful nod. Of course, Miss Hale. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face burned red. Caroline's husband muttered, unbelievable. But beneath all the anger, I saw something else flicker in their eyes. Not rage, not pride, fear. Because for the first time, they were on the outside looking in, and they knew I wasn't bluffing. My father's expression hardened into disbelief. You're joking, he said, as if the idea itself insulted him. You can't possibly. How would you even afford a place like this? His tone dripped with the same condescension I'd grown up hearing, the one that said you'll never be enough. I let the silence stretch between us before replying. By working, I said simply. By believing in something when no one else did. And by not spending years pretending to be someone I'm not. Caroline gave a short, nervous laugh. This is ridiculous. You're lying. Dad, tell them this is a joke. The manager cleared his throat gently. It's no joke, ma'am. Miss Hale acquired full ownership 3 months ago through Hale Ventures Incorporated. The name sounded foreign even to me, but I had built it, piece by piece from every rejection, every moment I'd been told to stay quiet and small. My mother's eyes flickered between the manager and me, searching for an escape. You bought this place? She whispered. Without telling us? I met her gaze. Would it have mattered? The table was a battlefield of unspoken words. My father leaned back, his hand trembling slightly. You're telling me my own daughter owns the club I've been a member of for 20 years? I nodded. That's correct. Which means you're technically my guests tonight. The weight of that truth hung heavy. Caroline's husband muttered something under his breath and pushed his chair back. This is insane. The other diners pretended not to stare, but their curiosity was sharp. For the first time, I wasn't the one shrinking. I was the one holding the room still. I didn't do this to humiliate you, I said softly. I did it because this place treated people like me, like us, as if we didn't belong unless we were born into it. I wanted to change that. My father scoffed, but the defiance in his eyes had dulled. My mother looked at the white linen tablecloth, her voice trembling. You shouldn't have done this alone, Lila. I swallowed the ache rising in my throat. I had to. You never would have stood beside me if I tried. But they still didn't know what I was planning to do next, and it would change everything for them too. My mother reached for my arm, her voice trembling between fury and desperation. Leila, please. You don't have to do this. We're family. Family. I almost laughed, but the ache in my chest was too heavy for that. Family? I whispered. You only remember that word when it benefits you. She flinched, but I couldn't stop now. Years of being invisible, of being talked over and talked down to, came rushing up all at once. Do you know what it feels like to sit through every dinner being told you're the disappointment? To have your father tell you you're embarrassing him? To hear your sister whisper that you'll never be enough? My father's hand clenched around his glass, his knuckles white. You're twisting things, he said quietly. We pushed you because we wanted better for you. Better, I repeated softly. You wanted different. You wanted a daughter who fit into your perfect world, not one who built her own. The air between us pulsed with everything unsaid, I felt years of silence press down like a storm waiting to break. Then I took a breath, steadier this time. Your memberships will be suspended for 1 month. During that time, you'll receive a formal letter asking for an apology to the staff you disrespected, and to me. After that, you can reapply. Caroline shot to her feet. You can't do this. I already have, I said quietly. Her husband tugged at her arm. Caroline, let's go. She hesitated, her eyes blazing, but beneath it I saw something fragile. Shame, maybe. Or regret. My father finally spoke again, his voice lower now. You think this makes you powerful? Owning a building doesn't erase the fact that you're still our daughter. I looked at him, at the man who'd spent his life caring more about status than love, and said no, it doesn't. But it reminds me that being your daughter doesn't mean I have to live by your rules anymore. For a long moment, none of us moved. Then my mother whispered, Lila, please don't end it like this. I turned toward her, my heart heavy but clear. Then don't let it end. Change it. But as they walked away in stunned silence, I knew endings rarely come with closure. The room emptied slowly after they left, the murmurs of onlookers fading into soft piano music from the lounge. I stood there for a moment, staring at their untouched plates, the candle flickering between them. My hands were shaking, though I didn't know if it was anger or relief. Maybe both. Richard, the manager, approached quietly. Would you like me to cancel their memberships right away, Miss Hale? I hesitated. The truth was, I didn't hate them. I just wanted them to see me. Not the version they'd built in their heads, but the woman who'd fought her way back from their rejection. No, I said finally. Send them a letter tomorrow. Make it formal, but respectful. He nodded, understanding more than I said aloud, then stepped away. When I finally walked outside, the air was cool and still. The parking lot shimmered under the lights, and for a moment I just stood there breathing alone. I thought about all the nights I'd driven past this place, telling myself I didn't care. But deep down, I always had. I'd wanted their approval, their pride, maybe even their love. And yet, as the breeze brushed against my face, I realized I didn't need it anymore. A week later, a letter arrived at my office. The envelope was cream-colored, expensive, sealed in the same way my parents sealed their emotions, perfectly, without a flaw. Inside, a handwritten note from my mother. Lila, we've had time to think. You were right about a lot of things. I don't expect forgiveness overnight, but your father and I would like to meet, not as members, but as family. I read it 3 times, the words blurring slightly near the end. Maybe it was a start, maybe not, but it was something. That weekend, I sat at the same table, same candlelight, waiting for them to walk in. My father looked older somehow. My mother's smile trembled when she saw me. No grand speeches this time, just a quiet, "We're proud of you." And in that moment, I understood. I hadn't needed revenge. I'd needed peace. Because sometimes, walking away isn't the loudest thing you can do. Sometimes, it's coming back, on your own terms.